Lena.
Hi, Lee.
Welcome to come back the Lena and the Lee conversation. So last time we were in your trip, and so we would like to maybe know more about your third trip uh, to India, and maybe you want to share a little bit more with us about your experience.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation again, Lee.
Welcome.
It's always such a nice opportunity to talk with you about these things and to remember, to recall. It's very special for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because in the last 3 months, like a lot of people from India started to connect with me again. And it was not, there was no plan to it, or they were even not very close friends, but some were, some definitely were.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting that it came up in the last time that like once we started talking about it a lot, and I don't think they listened to these interviews necessarily, but because they were not aware of them, or still maybe are not. I could actually send them the links, by the way, to promote them a bit more.
Yep.
But in a way, it's so interesting that they like the India topic of reconnecting to India is coming up for me. Yeah, and when you mention my third trip to India, it's the last. No, actually, there was a small third trip, but then the fourth trip to India. Like I want to talk about the fourth one, the main last trip. And in that trip, that was it was the one that's the one it happened 2018 and 19. So it's not that long ago. I mean, it's still 5 years, but in a way, it's the most recent and the one that has the most impact for me now. And in that trip, I was not there only just as a person. I mean, obviously as a person, but also as a student of yoga, and also as a researcher of yoga. And because I was already involved in writing a dissertation about pranayama, about the breath, and about the yogic technique called pranayama, that is the regulation of the breathing. And I think, I've already talked about it in these videos. It's very intense yogic technique that is at the core of the Hatha Yoga, but also quite important for the Patanjali Yoga. And at least in Hatha Yoga, like a medieval type of Hatha Yoga, regulating the breath was the core thing to do. So it's really crucial, really, really crucial, because it's the life force that can be addressed through the breath and through the manipulation of the breath. And at the same time, I think it's a very advanced, can be very difficult technique. Although, of course, you start with not so difficult ones, but then it's really tricky. And so I when I went there to research about these techniques in the modern period, so I was mainly not focusing on the medieval techniques, but the modern ones, which are a bit diluted in a way because they have a lot of other influences and ideas. So it has changed. It became something different in the modern period. And I went there to India to visit 3 main places, and I think I will maybe mainly talk about the first place I went. It was a yoga institute close to Bombay, and so between Bombay and Pune. And it's called the Kaivalya Dhamma. It's a bit of a difficult name, but it's yeah, once you've heard it, or yeah, it doesn't matter what's the exact name, but we can write it even maybe in the YouTube, capture.
Yeah.
Kaivalya Dhamma. And they have a very nice library, and I knew I wanted to study also the library because I also needed to do some archival research, like about yoga texts around 1900 and
Yep.
how these yogis at that time thought of pranayama and how they also researched the pranayama, because so the person who founded the Kaivalya Dhamma was called Kuvalyananda, Swami Kuvalyananda.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a lot of research about pranayama in the labs. So he started to put machines on the breathing apparatus to measure the pressure changes within the in-breath, out-breath, the skin texture, skin tonus, a lot of different laboratory techniques, blood pressure, the amount of red blood particles in the, I don't know the English term, I'm sorry, in the blood. And so a lot of very techniques that are related to modern medicine. So he wanted to find out about pranayama in that medical context. And that was very important for modern yoga and for the development of modern pranayama, because he could show that it also has effects on the overall body. It also has effects on health. And so it was very important for me to go there and to find out more about what this Swami did, and also what how he conceptualized pranayama. And then I started to do my writing there and my research with the books and talking to different people. But like after 2 weeks, I went to a fire ceremony that happened every morning and every evening in the small hut in the center of the ashram. And there I met Swamiji Maheshananda, and he was the main spiritual head of this ashram at that time, of this yoga institute, when I was there. And immediately when we met, it was strange. He knew about what I was doing. So maybe somebody told him about me, or so he knew, you're Magda-Lena and you do the research. And so he was kind of interested. And then he asked me a lot of very intricate questions about what is prana, what is the breath, what is the Indian concept of prana. And I had all these questions for myself. And when I talked with him about it, I realized that I don't know a lot of these answers, It's so fascinating to talk with him about it, but I don't know. I don't have these answers. Although I'm supposed to write about it, but I don't have them yet, or whatever. Like, I don't have them. And at the same time, like while asking, also some kind of understanding happened, although I could not verbalize it. But then also, like just in the encountering this Swami, I'm like suddenly my research gained so much more depth.
Mm-hmm.
about the prana and the breathing and the pranayama. What does it mean? I mean, it's such a meaningful technique, and what does it really mean? And maybe first of all, what does it mean to you and to me? And then I just like immediately when I met him, I felt this really strong connection about I want to keep learning from this atmosphere, from this question, from this person. But in a way, it was not even really conscious realization, because I was also it was more my heart that understood it immediately than my mind. You know, like my heart felt that is something very meaningful, but my mind took a bit longer. and so I just continued going to the fire ceremony. I tried to go there once a day, and even the fire ceremony, which was a Vedic ritual, was and there was no intellectual or no personal encounter, but still like the ritual was very meaningful for me, to see how the fire was kindled and fed, and then all the mantras along with it. Very powerful energy. And so I felt recharged every time I went there. I felt like some transformation, some recharging. And then I kept going there, and at the same time I also had a lot of work to do. I had to write my chapter about this Swamiji that had already died, like Swami Kuvalyananda, the founder of the institute. And a lot of people also came and talked to me, so also a lot of distraction in a way. But still I kept going to these rituals. And then I found out, maybe like after 1 month, I found out that it was always possible to go to Swamiji and to ask questions, like actively, just to go there and really tell him I would like to talk about this and this, and he would just involve you in a conversation that immediately became so meaningful. And of course I also asked him about pranayama, and he said and I know that it changed the way I practice breath work. Although he didn't teach me any specific technique, other than the most basic ones that you do with changing the nostrils.
I saw that. Yeah.
You saw that, huh? So, and that's what we also did in the fire ceremony, in the ritual. We did the pranayama with the changing of the nostrils. And I live with a... Do you hear this singing? Yes, I live with an opera singer.
Okay.
So that's our
Yes.
background
Okay. Yes.
vocals for our talk this time.
I thought it's playing some kind of music with a real person. Yeah. Real.
Yeah, it's a person practicing her singing. She's a very good opera singer and very advanced voice. So it's actually lovely to hear her, but I was wondering, you probably hear it too. And our audience will hear it. Okay, that's it. I didn't ask her permission if she is going, live. If she wants to be recorded or not.
So it's not very very loud, so it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So because one time I watched a video from a Tibetan, uh, you know, yogis. I think they also, you can call them yogis too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So those are monks. Yeah. They
Yeah,
He was also doing like this. Yeah. He has to clean here, and then he has to point somewhere. Like I know, like he has to use his finger. Yeah. I don't know the technique, but I will assume there's some kind of connection from the
mhm.
practice in India. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Tibet, the whole Tibetan Buddhism has very strong connection to the North Indian
Mm.
developments of yoga, and
Yeah.
probably even very early in the history of Tibetan yoga,
Yes.
that there
Yeah.
is like overlaps between or inter exchange between these kind of approaches, or
Yeah.
and because even the tantra is a big thing, or tantric religion is a big spread all over North India and into Tibet, and it influenced the Tibetan Buddhism a lot. And tantra and yoga is also like in the medievals, a lot of common ideas, practices, a lot of common ground to develop, a lot of exchange between tantra and yoga. So definitely the Tibetan Buddhism has a lot of similarities of what yogis do or did.
Mm.
Maybe it's even, I don't know, it's just a guess, but maybe some techniques are preserved in Tibet that may have not survived in this mode in other parts of India. And so definitely I'm sure that these monks, at least some of them, are very, very knowledgeable.
Mm.
Mm. And they practice a lot of meditation. And what uh, what I said about the Hatha Yoga Pranayama in the beginning, uh, that the pranayama is so central for the Hatha Yoga, for the idea of liberation, being liberated from worldly suffering. Um, the pranayama is such an important step for the liberation, but also like the initial technique to start the meditation. So it's very linked, the meditation and the pranayama, and also in the tantric Buddhism, very similar. I think very similar. Although I have not studied that in detail, but just from what I know, there are very close relationships.
Mm. Yeah. So you were talking about this, the head of an institute. Um, so you've is he the one influenced you the most in this trip?
Yes.
Mm.
And I would say for the whole period of like the last, since I met him, like maybe in a sense of spiritual orientation, he is the person that definitely has influenced me most.
Mm.
And um, although it was not a very long time, I was in this institute for 3 months. And so like after 2 or 3 weeks, I went there regularly. And after like another month, I had like regular talks with Swami Ji and also with Angelica. He had like an assistant to do the fire ceremony with him every day. And
Mhm.
Angelica was from Germany. And actually, she came from a place that was very close to where I am born.
Okay.
And she lived in India, and she stayed with the Swamiji for almost 30 years
Mm.
because she had an intense call to live there. And it was very difficult path for her to actually go and stay with there and be accepted, as an person who is ready to do this devotional fire ceremony every day and to closely work with the Swami. So in order to be accepted from the whole, social structure of the ashram and the village where the ashram was, it was hard work for her to get that status. But she managed so well. And she was very grounded person, and like she knew exactly, both Swamiji was very direct in how he perceived the person who was me or any other visitor. And Angelica also like perceived these people in a very holistic sense. Like for example, she gave me some idea about how to deal with the colds that I had also at that time, or how to just dive into this into this atmosphere at the ashram and to really absorb it. So Angelica was also very important for me. So it was meaningful that there was not just Swamiji, but also Angelica, like this kind of male and female pair, although they were not a couple in that sense. But yeah.
When you meet a person, like how do you perceive the, because we don't just normally perceive the physical being, yeah, you sense there's a different levels of the souls, and like, so when you meet those people, like, I guess if they have a special meaning to you, you you sense certain kind of energy, yeah, you sense maybe it's a presence that you feel like is maybe surrounding you, and because I feel like, whatever we see, the materials, the animal creatures, the people, like we see the surface, yeah, from our eyes, but if we are sensitive being, then we don't just sense the surface, we sense what is the real thing, yeah, the real thing. So from your description, I feel like they are kind of special being, like you sense that, yeah.
Yeah. And it was really, you asked, how do you sense it? I sensed it in the way they connected to me, because like immediately from the start, and it was not the words they used, but the way they connected was very direct, like in a way that you immediately know there it is. You don't hide, you cannot hide from these people, but in a very calming way, you feel seen, like as you said, you perceive the other person, but they also perceive you. And they and then maybe even your own being, or can expand. Maybe you feel like an expansion, and you feel like your own layers. You, like what you said about the layers of being, you also feel more there are more layers than in yourself than you might have been aware of, in this presence, because the presence helps you to understand yourself in a different way. Something like that, I think, was happening, because the clarity of this interaction was so striking. And I think that's why it's so. And I really want to emphasize, I did not go to India to find this. It was not my active search, but it really just happened. And it was really my heart that knew this is very meaningful. But my mind was quite busy with the research and a lot of stuff. But like it took a while to integrate the meaningfulness of this. experiences.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I also decided to stay longer for 1 month. So originally I wanted to stay, planned to stay only 2 months, but then I stayed for 3 months. And it was also because there was a whole pranayama course starting, and I felt like I really want to learn more practical, like in terms of practices. And then I stayed for the whole course of doing pranayama. But I would say the meaningful part of staying longer was to have more time with Swamiji and Angelica. And it's another lesson about, the relationship, about how to practice. I mean, the technique of practicing. For me, in the end, it is important, but like what you just said about the layers of being is really the deeper side of the practices that unfold with these practices or with this encountering with people. And of course, it's for a reason that in yoga they said, like in almost all the texts, they talk about the meaning that it's very important to have a teacher. Yeah. And that's of course for a reason. Because I think it's not just, that the teacher can teach you the techniques, but it's about this presence.
So you didn't expect, you didn't expect you would meet someone special. No.
No, I mean, I knew I will meet a lot of special people, a lot of interesting people, and a lot of also people that can help me in my research and what I want to write about. But I didn't expect meeting somebody who is really, just going to the core of it. So that was really, I think, the biggest gift.
Yeah. Yeah. After after listen to this, I'm thinking like in my life, did I have a similar kind of experience? Yeah. Um, yeah. I feel like, do you feel like, in your journey, your practice, spiritual practice journey, um, like have you ever feared that maybe you cannot find a teacher, the right teacher? Like obviously you have to learn from someone or something, um, or you learn from yourself. But yes, if you have someone who have experience, and someone can actually, you know, open you up, and like you have to allow it to happen. But like I always have this kind of, mm, that I don't know where to find this teacher. I don't. I can find a teacher, or should I continue looking for the teacher? This kind of,
Of course, yeah.
yeah. So like most of time, my if I do research, if I do um, whatever learning, I try to learn from my dream and from the nature. Um, I feel like this is I always can learn from them. I always can find, if I don't have the luck, to find a human teacher. Yeah. So so you're pretty lucky. You find you meet someone and you have this experience. Yeah.
I think so.
Mm, yeah.
And it's yes. But I think there is nothing wrong. Like, you do like everything what you just said is so. I know from my own experience, and I think it's quite right what you do. You know, you do your inner work like through the dreams and through like observation of yourself and nature. I mean, that is already such a big learning, and that can keeps going all your life. And then it will happen. If you meet somebody, a human teacher, it will just happen. Actually, because it's so interesting, because what I said before, that my mind took a bit longer to realize this, because that I have met actually a person that is very core for me. Because with Swamiji, I talked about how to find a pranayama teacher. And then he told me something like, well, it's like finding a boyfriend. Do you have a boyfriend? And at that time I said no. And then he said, well, yeah, it's finding like a boyfriend. It will happen. And yes. And so he really, I think he wanted to say it's about the relationship aspect first, and then it will, like, yeah, you also don't know where you will find like a girlfriend or your husband or wife or whatever. It will happen because you cannot plan it, right? So I think in a way it was a good thing he told me, although now I understand that already. Like, I was sitting in front of my Swamiji to ask him the question, where do I find the Swami? Because he didn't teach any, like, very very exact technique or something, but that was not even.
It's already the lesson, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is a very interesting story. Maybe, maybe from this point of view, maybe I already meet my teacher. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we may even don't know it,
Yeah, yeah.
in a way. I think so, yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
also I have other teachers in terms of yoga and pranayama that have deeply influenced me. And one is in Vienna, so it's also like took me a while to realize that, but it's also there. So as you said, it's not we don't know it maybe even.
Mm, yeah. I, I, I just like this kind of um, story. I think this is an encouraging.
Mm.
Yes. And maybe in the next episode you can also share your another teacher you find if you want, because I really like this, because I would review myself after listening to this kind of, maybe I was kind of blind. so so
Mm.
I need to realize myself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
And yeah, and for me, it is also. Mm, it took a while to realize about the Swamiji, but not from the heart, but just in the reflection of the mind. Um, but I met him in 2019, early 2019, and like about 9 months later, Angelica, she passed away. And so the fire ceremony lady, she passed away. And then again, like 9 months later, like June 2020, Swamiji also passed away. So it was really pretty much the last moment for me, at least, to meet them. Yes. And now, meanwhile, I know other people who have been in touch with them for years, maybe for 20 years, and they had like a long phase of guidance, with Swamiji and Angelica. And I sometimes feel, okay, wow, what would it be for my life if I could have continued this communication or this interaction or this dialogue, this relationship, this learning. On the other hand, I also know it is what it is, and it is a very big gift. And that it is like, the essence of it is already in my heart. So, but it's helpful for me to talk about it because, just keeping up this connection,
Absolutely.
that it's still so meaningful for my life, and it has a place. So, and at the same time, Swamiji, he was always a pointer towards like the eternal reality or towards God, He never was like, okay, please worship me, not at all. In fact, he told me that, like, my name, we talked about the name earlier, like the importance of names.
Mm-hmm.
He told me, like, you're Magda-Lena, and so know that you have a connection to Jesus, and don't forget this. You should, maybe you don't know you have a connection, but you have a connection. Maybe you forgot about it. Like, I immediately started crying when he said that. So in a way, meeting Swamiji also helped me to reconnect with Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, so really,
Yeah.
are you okay? Mm.
Yes, it's just the same connections coming up. Same remembering of, okay, yeah.
It's wonderful, yeah. It's very
Yeah.
nice feeling, yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I'm going through a phase in my life right now where this is very crucial for me to remember. And so I'm
Yeah.
like this importance of connecting into these like non-visible realms.
Mm. There's a lot to think about after today's conversation. Yeah. Um, Thank you so much for sharing those insight, and it's very deep. Is is profound, and thank you for being sincere to share those.
Thanks for listening, Lee.
I hope you are okay. And
Yes, definitely, very much.
thank you. And yeah, um, maybe we can wrap it up today. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for I hope we can continue next time the story, and I'm interested to know more. And for today, I have a lot to review myself. So, yes. Mm,
Wow,
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you everybody for listening. And so I hope we can, if you have time next week, we can do again. Yeah.
Yeah, soon.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll stop recording, okay? Yeah.